Hello everyone. This is an Xbox One controller. Specifically previous generation, not the latest. I've used these for the better part of the 5 or so years I've done streaming. It's a good controller. I've always liked it. D-pad is, well, a lot of people say bad things about the D-pad, but I've always had a pretty good time of it, with its rounded edges and such. It's a good controller. It's not perfect, but it's what I've done for streaming for a long period of time. And while I've had occasional sore hands from over-streaming, this controller has never hurt me, nor any of the other iterations I've gotten. This is like the third one I've gotten. This, however, is not the full story, because we have this as well. This is the Series S Xbox One controller. This is the new generation of Xbox controllers, and I was more or less forced to buy this when I was replacing this guy, because this guy here has a bad A button. When I was replacing it, I was basically forced to get this one. I've always purchased these controllers directly through from Microsoft via Amazon, because they have an official Amazon page. And when I went to try to get another one of this older generation, they basically weren't available anymore. There was like one old legacy one they were selling for like 300% markup. So I was like, no, we'll get the Series S. We'll go and switch, since they want us to switch so bad. So I got the Series S. Now you may notice a difference here with this controller, but to put it simply, I have used this controller for one stream. While I've used this other generation for better part of 5 years, I've used this for one stream. This controller never hurt me. One stream of this, the end of my thumb has been numb since Tuesday. It is now Friday. It is still numb. I cannot feel anything. I could stab a needle into the end of it, but I won't, because that's probably going to qualify me under self-harm or something. I would not feel it. This controller, in my personal opinion, is not terrible, but for certain people, kind of shit. It all comes down to the one thing that is majorly different between these two controllers. You may see it already. The one major difference between these two controllers is the D-pad. On the old generation controller, the D-pad, while simple, and a lot of people hated it actually, I never found it to be too bad. Your thumb sits nicely on it, it's smooth, and more importantly, the edges of the controller are rounded. These are not sharp edges, so you can put your thumb to the end of the controller and you won't feel any real discomfort or pain. This is important because while some people put their thumb on a D-pad like this and then rotate their thumb, I tend to put my thumb on the extreme edges of the different directions when I'm using a D-pad. Now you might argue, okay, well, D-pad, not a lot of games use those these days. That's not that important. Well, when it comes to playing platformers, I've always found that you get a lot more precision by using a D-pad over an analog stick. Analog stick has time to travel, it has to move back and forth, and the dead zone is always a little hard to tell. So a D-pad is always going to be preferable, in my opinion, for platformers, such as the one we were playing on Tuesday. Now, let's look at the Series S controller for a second. This D-pad looks cool. I'll give it that. It's got this weird geometric style, which does kind of stand out. It gets your attention. It's like the one major, huge difference on this controller aesthetically. But the problem is, while the edges are not completely and utterly sharp, these are some very, very edged edges all the same. You can kind of see it if I rotate. Well, the analog stick gets in the way. Let me do this. You can kind of see. It's a little hard with the light. I know I'm not perfect at presentation. I'm not a product reviewer, but this is important to me because my thumb is literally numb. So again, I think this controller actually is okay for some people. The Series S version here. In fact, when I was looking up information, I was seeing if anybody else had any problems. I saw a few mentions of like, yeah, this controller kind of hurt my hands or something. Apparently because the form fitting is different compared to the old controller. So some people were finding their hands cramping while holding it. But I couldn't find anybody discussing the issue I had with it. I did find some people talking about the D-pad, but everybody I found talking about the D-pad actually praised it. Apparently it's very good for fighting games, and honestly, to play devil's advocate here and be fair about it, it is understandable why. If you put your thumb on the middle of this D-pad and rotate it around, like you lean like this, listen. I'll even move it by the mic so you can hear it. It's very easy to get feedback by pressing from the middle. However, of course, as I discussed before, the way I use D-pads is from the edge, like this. Like this, and this, and this. And one 6-hour stream, and yes, 6 hours is a long time. That's how I always stream. 6 hours is my average, and I generally never have any sort of hand issues. I never have any lasting pain or anything after playing games normally. But 6 hours of basically pressing this, even doing this right now, makes me feel uncomfortable. Like this is pushing directly into the part of my thumb I can't feel, and it's just like really weird feeling. I could tell I'm pressing it because I hear the click, but I don't feel much. Doing that literally numbed my thumb. Pretty much the whole end of it, like around this section specifically, but a lot of the end of the thumb is just, it's nothing right now. And I'm not just talking like, oh, partial numbness or numbness and then went away. No, I just can't feel anything. That's how bad this is. I personally highly caution about buying the Series S unless you are the sort to use your thumb right in the middle of the D-pad. If you aren't, train yourself to do so, I suppose. I unfortunately have to keep using this for now because this controller's A button's kind of given out. So I do need to keep using this, but I'm going to be exceptionally careful when it comes to using the D-pad from now on. But what bothers me is that there has been a few product reviews of this controller, but nobody's discussed my issue. Maybe I'm a fringe case, maybe I'm just weird, but it was so easy to hurt my thumb, to numb it. I think I pinched a nerve. I do believe I'll get feeling back eventually, but as far as I can tell, I pinched a nerve pretty dang bad. And it will probably take, I don't know, it could take up to a few weeks to get the feeling back, I imagine. Well, I'll give you guys an update later on during a later stream, but when I do feel the end of my thumb again. But yeah, I'm very dissatisfied with this stupid design. I feel like it's more a visual design. It does have better feedback, I'll give it that. But this design, the actual shape of it, I feel like it's been designed this way to look different, to be like, oh, this is a new controller, oh, look how snazzy it looks, look at the geometric shape, isn't that cool? It looks cool, but it doesn't feel cool. So, I just wanted to review this a little bit, let you guys know, caution people from this controller. If you want a PC controller, maybe go for the PlayStation controllers. I've not really used them, but I don't really have any problem with them. I just tend to stick to these because this is what I've used the most. You know, I've used Xbox controllers the longest time. This is why I stick to using for PC. But honestly, I'd probably recommend going an off-brand or going with a PlayStation controller or just whatever. Maybe the Steam controller. I haven't tried that out yet. I don't have one of those. Those look kind of cool, but I would suggest staying away from this unless you have the mind to always keep your thumb in the middle of the D-pad. Because if it drifts at all, you're going to hurt your thumb. Probably not as bad as I did, hopefully, but you might feel some real discomfort after a while. The other thing I think is problematic is that you may notice I have big hands. These are not small hands, and so my thumb is also pretty big. Like, I actually notice when I compare the two D-pads, the D-pad of the old version is actually bigger. Not only is it more comfortable, but I have more room to put my thumb on it. Well, the D-pad on this is actually subtly but noticeably smaller. My thumb dwarfs it a lot easier. But, yeah, that's all I had to really say. I just wanted to start out with today's stream by making this little video, explaining how I felt. And, yeah, buyer beware. Nobody's really talking about this issue, but I consider it significant enough to point out. Please stay safe and treat your hands right.